That sounded good off the bat. It's a big hit to get it into the stands at the MCG.
The umpires have called the game, and therefore this is a famous victory for Ireland. And you couldn't say they haven't deserved it. The cricket that they put in this evening, the game hasn't gone to a natural conclusion, but at the point the rain came, they were ahead of the game. They bowled better than England. They took crucial wickets.
We were slightly disappointed with we finished the way we did. We lost, I think, 7 wickets for not a lot, and they took the momentum in with us, but with them. So our message was just create chances. We know how this England team like to play, and if we can take every chance we get, we'll be in with a shout.
As a captain, how proud are you of what you've achieved on this ground here today?
It's amazing, and it's kind of emotional because we've never played a game of cricket here, and to come here and play the tournament favourites with so many big names in the game and put on a show in front of friends, family and a number of people around the world is very satisfying. We had a great week in Hobart last week, and then to do this at one of the most amazing cricket grounds in the world is pretty special.
We saw you go over to your fans there at the end in the rain. Great for them as well.
Yeah, well, a few of them have extended their trip, so they've spent a bit of money over the last week. They're so passionate about the game in Ireland. We're continuing to try to make this game a bigger sport in our country, and days like today will help, and hopefully we have a few more in the future.
Who next for you and where?
We have Afghanistan here on Friday, so quite a quick turnaround. We have taken a bit of momentum with us, and hopefully we can have a good weekend and get through that.
Yeah, Irish captain Andrew Balbirnie speaking there to Nasser Hussain, and you heard before the commentary from the T20 Cricket World Cup feed, Nasser Hussain and Michael Atherton, after Ireland's famous, I guess we're calling it now, win against England in Melbourne at the T20 World Cup. The Duckworth-Lewis-Stern method settled things. Ireland had set a target of 158, as we were discussing on the news round. England had 14.3 overs before play stopped. They were at 105 for the loss of 5 wickets. They were about 5 runs short of where they needed to be when the rain came. Very happy to say Laura Delany is with us. She's the Irish women's cricket captain. She's also a brother of Gareth, who's part of the men's team. Laura, great to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me.
I presume a quiet morning in the Delany household?
In fairness, my parents were up at 5 o'clock. They were up just before the first ball was bowled, but we were absolutely delighted. It was a closer game towards the end, but so delighted for all the guys out there. They worked incredibly hard, and I think on behalf of the women's team, we're incredibly proud of what they're achieving out there at the moment.
So hang on, you said your parents got up at 5 a.m. Does that mean you rock up around 8:30?
No, I didn't. No. I was up early as well, trying to follow as much as I could, but we had a full day of training today. So, and I was watching on my phone, but I was falling asleep and then waking back up, unfortunately. But no, delighted that I was able to follow.
You can give us a helping hand to put this into perspective. So Andrew Balbirnie, who we just heard speaking there as well, he was saying in T20 cricket, it's probably the best win ever for Ireland. We've never had a result like this. He said, we came into this round knowing any win we got would be a huge achievement, and we've just beaten the best T20 team there is, in my opinion. I looked at their team this morning. I was looking at matchups, and part of me was struggling to understand how we could compete with them if they showed up. I think that captures quite well what Ireland felt they were up against.
Yeah, I think they should be incredibly proud of the way that they played today. They outplayed England with both the bat and the ball, and going into today's game, England would have been favourites to win, but also to be favourites to come out and be in the semi-final. So I think Ireland have definitely made a statement with today's game. They obviously played really well against the West Indies, and I think they're getting better and better with each performance. They have such a promising side, very young players mixed with some experienced players who have played in World Cups before. And I think those conversations in and around the dressing room, but also when things do come down to the wire, having the youth and the experience there to help guide those younger players through is crucial. But I think everyone's now is just behind them and looking forward towards this game against Afghanistan. They had a really good series against Afghanistan here in Ireland during the summer, so I'm sure they'll be feeling very confident ahead of that game.
And further to your point, I have heard people talk about this Ireland team as a young team and a team in transition, so that is really worth bearing in mind.
Yeah, and I think when you go out to a World Cup, every player in any sport wants to perform at their best, and going out there as a young player, there'll be nerves, there'll be a bit more responsibility, a bit more pressure because the games are now being televised. But to have senior players there to have those conversations and to lead you through those challenging moments is really important. And I think, you know, the experience that they have showed out there today, but also to see other players like Fionn Hand come in and play his first game in the World Cup and take the wicket of Ben Stokes, who is an incredibly successful player. Second ball is a very promising sign for this side, and shows the potential that they have in this tournament.
And Laura, an aspect of this morning was that Duckworth Lewis Stern was looming. The weather forecast, I suppose, was in, and there was a sense that the rain was coming. Is the advantage in that instance generally with the team who's batting first, so Ireland this morning, or can it vary?
Usually, I think when rain is around, you'd look to try and bat second, so you know what score you're trying to chase, but also try to stay ahead of the DL score. But I think Ireland were on top from the first over. They took a couple of key wickets and they just kept building pressure each over. And I think the momentum was in Ireland's hands. I think England will look back at that and say it's a game that they should have won, particularly batting second. But as I said, and I think as Josh Butler, the England captain, said about the Irish side, that they just outplayed them.
And did you see that coming? Did observers generally see it coming that Ireland could cause so much trouble to the English batters?
I thought Ireland bowled exceptionally well in comparison to how the English bowlers bowled. I thought they held their line in length really well. I think Gareth, unfortunately, was a little bit more expensive as a spinner, but I thought the seamers did a really good job, and more often than not, the fielders backed it up. I know there were a couple of drop catches, but as a team, they're incredibly athletic. They work really hard in their fielding, and I think they should be really proud of their performance today. As I said, it's a statement. A lot of people will say it might be an upset, but I think this is a statement from them early doors as to where they want to go in this competition.
Yeah, which would be amazing, if they could build on this, and this would just be more than just their greatest day, but very much in isolation if it was the start of things.
Absolutely, and I think it's amazing that they've done it in the MCG. It's such an amazing ground to play at, in front of some of our family and friends that are over there. I wish I was over there supporting, but they have so much support from here as well, that I think they should be really proud of what they are achieving.
Listen, I should say for radio listeners, you're doing a hell of a job there, because you're in the car and the light's just gone off and I can see you frantically trying to switch on the light. No, you're grand, you're grand. These are the joys of live radio. So you mentioned your brother there, Gareth, and it's funny, even in advance of today, I was just reading an interview he'd given a couple of days ago after the match against West Indies. And he was remembering the T20 World Cup game last year against Namibia. And to use his word, and I stress it's his word, he said he choked. And a year on, he got player of the match against West Indies. So even for, to watch your brother have that moment after a difficult time a year ago must be wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And I think my dad was incredibly proud. The guys work so hard. And look, any player at elite level does. But unfortunately, in cricket, you can go and score 100 one day and feel like a world beater, and you can be out for a duck the next day. So it's ruthless sport in that regard. But he's worked really hard, and he's been supported by his captain, but also by the coaches. I know Nathan, who has only come on board over the last couple of months, has instilled a lot of confidence with him, and he's changed his technique ever so slightly, and I think as a result he's just growing in confidence, and it's brilliant to see him perform the way that he is out there at the moment.
Yeah, no, it must be amazing. And what's the relationship? Do you send him a soppy, loving Oprah Winfrey style message of love, or do you just slag him off by text? What's the...
No, I think no, we're very supportive of one another, and we've been raised to make sure that we support each other well, so there's no rivalry or competition between us. And I think, look, as I've said, playing at an international in any sport, there's so many challenges that you face. So when I suppose someone who does well, you have to get behind them and support them, because there's a lot of moments that you don't see. But as he spoke about that Namibia game last year, it was really hard for Ireland to come back after, I suppose, going into a game where they thought they would win. But I think to come full circle and to see what they're achieving right now is brilliant to see.
So again, for people keeping a casual eye on this, it is worth stating that Ireland have reached this stage of the competition for the first time in 13 years. And this win against England now, puts them in the conversation. They have Afghanistan on Friday, Australia at the Gabba on Monday, which again is another kind of iconic fixture. I mean, that's amazing. And then they'll have New Zealand on the following Friday. What's a realistic expectation, Laura? Because, it can be unfair now to expect, well, they're going to go on and get to the semi-finals. What would be a good innings? No pun intended.
No, sorry. I think as the captain, I'd just be saying to him, game at a time. We have Afghanistan next. We had a very good home series against them. We know what their strengths are. We're playing really well at the moment. Let's just make sure that we keep going with that. And then I think you just have to make sure that you take conditions into account. Obviously, there's a bit of rain around at the moment, but yeah, I would just be taking it one game at a time. I think anything can happen in these World Cup campaigns. Everyone's fighting for the same thing, and sometimes when there's a little bit more motivation there, it drives that hunger to succeed. And that's why I believe that anyone can perform on any day. So yeah, I'd just be saying take one game at a time, and I'd just be looking towards that Afghanistan game.
Yeah, well, they certainly seem to be enjoying it. So will you get the day off training to watch, or is it juggling everything again?
No, well, we actually don't have training on Friday. We head to Pakistan on Saturday, so I'll be up at 5 o'clock to watch that game.
Okay, good. Well, listen, enjoy that, and then best of luck with your own pursuits as well. Obviously, Laura Delany is the Irish women's cricket captain. Her brother Gareth, part of the men's team. Thanks a million, Laura. Cheers, appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.